We're talking about condos again today because the condo market has behaved very oddly in 2024. In fact, as someone that tracks the data literally every single day, I personally thought prices would drop a lot more than they did, and they didn't, and they've been sticky. And although they have dropped off a little bit since the summer, there seems to be on both sides of the equation, buyers and sellers, perhaps a little bit of stubbornness or maybe just overall resiliency we didn't think was coming. And I'm not here to tell you that the condo market is out of the woods and 2025 is going to see big price increases, because I really don't think that's going to happen. Because what I'm going to show you is what's happened so far this year. Why did this happen? What's currently happening in today's market, and a few things that we have to track moving into 2025. My name's Tom Storey. If you're new here, make sure to like this video and get subscribed to the channel, because the next video that comes out after this is going to be my 2025 Toronto real estate predictions video, and that is always a lot of fun. I also do run one of the top real estate teams here in the city of Toronto. If you want to talk to an expert, you can book a call in the first link in the description. So let's talk about what's happened so far in 2024. Now, what we are looking at here is a graph showing average sale price so far in the city of Toronto for condominiums. So you started the year at $705,000. You can see by about April, it got to $764,000. So we actually did have a fairly strong start to the year. And then it's kind of dropped off ever since then. And right now, at the end of November, we're at about $708,000. So if you go to the beginning of the year, $705,000. Right now, we're at $708,000. And it went up and down a little bit there. But it's odd. In a year that had this much condo inventory, you really would have thought that prices would have dropped off a lot more than this, just based on how much was on the market, the interest rates, investors that were losing thousands of dollars a month, and everything that we talk about on this channel. But they've been fairly resilient. But I want to show you a few other things. So next, we're going to jump and show you what's actually happened with transaction volume. Starting the year with low transaction volume is very, very normal. We typically see a jump up here into April. So April was the peak in terms of transaction volume. But even at 1328 condos selling in April of 2024, that's still relatively low in the grand scheme of things here when we're looking at the market. And then you really saw the transactions drop down into what was supposed to be this August, September, beginning of the fall market. But then kind of out of nowhere, I would say, it seems like for whatever reason, of course, there's been lots of rate cuts this year. September, October, transaction volume started really picking up again. And I'm not overly concerned that it dipped off a little bit in November and December, because those months are always a little bit quiet in terms of sales volume. So what's going to be interesting to me moving forward is okay, we know the prices kind of ended where they started. The transaction volume started low, peaked out in the spring, but didn't have that second bump up in the fall market. It pushed a little bit further into October. And the final thing I want to look at is months of inventory, because this is the most telling sign that we have. So we started the year in a balanced out market, and that's probably why we saw a bit of price growth overall. And then as the year built, inventory continued to build. And for the better part of 2024, the entire city of Toronto was very much in a buyer's market. And when you're in a buyer's market, typically you see pressure on prices going down or at least stabilizing. You don't see any increase in prices going up. And the longer we stay in that buyer's market, the more pressure there could be on prices going down. What this chart is showing me is that in June and July and August, and even into September, we held very similar for overall inventory for condos, very, very much in a buyer's market. But then it dipped down into the fall, and it's decreased every month since. So it looks like the overall inventory peaked out in the summer. And I do believe as we continue here into December, you'll see more inventory come off the market, simply just because properties that haven't sold don't want to be on the market over the winter break. So that's part one of this video. Price growth was non-existent. It went up and down and kind of finished where it started, which to me is actually very, very surprising. Sales volume started to pick up in October, which is odd. Typically, that would happen in September after a quiet summer. So the fall market maybe just started a month later. And when I say sales volume picked up, it kind of went back to 2018, 2019 levels. So it didn't pick up and go crazy. It went back to more of what we typically expect, because it had been so low for a long time. And the inventory levels looks to have, at least as of right now, peaked out in those summer months and then fallen off as the rates had gone down. That's something that I talked about investors that were trying to sell their condos that had variable rates, every rate cut that happened, where if they were losing $1,000, maybe as of me recording this video after the most recent rate cut in December, maybe they're only losing $400 a month, right? And maybe they can stomach that, and maybe they now look forward and know that no new condos are being built and they want to hold this for a longer period of time. That could be a reason why we've seen the inventory levels drop off slightly, but still, as it stands today, we are still very much in a balanced out, pushing towards buyer's market territory. Now let's take a look at what is actually selling. So what we're looking at here is transactions that have actually happened. So these are sold properties in the city of Toronto. So average sale price for condos was about $732,000, median about $638,000. What's interesting to me is the median sale versus list price, which means like if a property was listed for $100, what did it sell for, is 98%. So although the absorption of the condo market was lower this year, in fact, very low. Some months, only 15 to 20% of condos that were on the market were actually finding a buyer. That's substantially lower than what we're used to here in the city of Toronto. The condos that were selling were still getting 98% of their most recent list price, right? So if they had dropped the price twice, that 98% is the most recent price that they are at. So it's showing me that if you're bang on with pricing, you are still selling, and the average days on market here is 31. It's like, okay, well, there's so many condos on the market. It only takes 31 days to sell a condo. No, that's not actually what that means. What it means is for the condos that actually sold, which is only 20 to 25% of the active listings every single month, for those, it took 31 days. But all the properties that stayed on the market that were stale, that never adjusted their pricing, they're still sitting there. And if they've never sold, there's no average days on market. A few other highlights here in this chart is just showing you where the sales volume is actually happening. Now, this shouldn't really be that surprising, but if you look at the city of Toronto for condo sales, the biggest segment was $500,000 to $599,000. The second biggest segment was $600,000 to $699,000. So that's where the action is happening. And this is good information. Like if you're a seller and you have a condo that's over $1 million, you just have to know, okay, the percentage of buyers that are buying condos over $1 million is a lot smaller than the percentage of buyers buying condos, let's say, under $700,000. These are the data points that buyers and sellers need to be aware of as they are entering the market. The last chart we're going to look at is an overview right now of everything that is for sale in the city of Toronto. And I want to make a point showing you why the condo market is so much different than everything else that is going on right now. So let's take a look here. So basically what we are looking at, this pie graph up here, I want you to focus on that. This is active listings right now in the city of Toronto. 59% of the active listings are condos. So when we say we have a lot of inventory and there's a lot to choose from, that is true, at least compared to previous years, but most of them are condos. And that's just condo apartments. If you tack in condo townhouses, you know, we're entering towards 70% of the overall market is condominium or strata properties. Detached is 21%, and semis is this little sliver here. It's only 4.45% of the entire market. So for me, there's a few key takeaways and a few things I'll be watching as we move into 2025. It looks like months of inventory has dropped off from the summer highs. Although the condo market has less active listings today and into early 2025 than it did in the summer, it's still very much balanced out or pushing to a buyer's direction. The most active segment of the condo market was that $500,000 to $700,000 price range. From the data that we have, condo prices peaked out in March of 2024 and then slowly went down until they jumped up a little bit at the end of the year and kind of got back to where they started. And there was really only 3 months this year that had transaction volume that was significantly higher than what we saw last year. That was April, that was October, and November of all months, which is kind of weird, which is probably just showing you that the buyer pool that's been watching the condo market are starting to say to themselves, well, hey, at this point, maybe now I want to enter. I'd love to know your feedback on this video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Tom Storey, and remember, home is where your story begins.